We've just been joined by Chidera Sam Eze, who is a curator Enugu Photo Festival. She has been documenting the story of the miners. She has been going on different trips, exploring the nooks and crannies of the abandoned mines in Enugu State. So, pleasure to have you on.
Thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you for having me here.
Good morning. So just tell us, I mean, you are the one who has been following us. You have been curating something big, something special. Tell us about your journey, the story of that coverage.
So, firstly, the community started because, we've had this conversation a couple of times because of a need for me personally to find people who are like me and are interested in the kind of things I am interested in. So we decided to start this journey by paying tribute to Enugu, where we started, where we are, and how better do you do that than to start with the story of coal in Enugu, because Enugu is a coal city. So, we started going to the different places, the different settlements at first, where the coal miners started living and where the settlements spread into what Enugu metropolis is today. And, while we were doing that, it became apparent that, we also had to talk to these coal miners. The last generation of coal miners that, we have, the ones that were retired and disengaged. So we decided to, Engineer Hyacinth has been a very big resource to me, to the community, because he has been the one on it. He's so passionate about this. So we had to start talking to coal miners first. We had to meet them and tell them, oh, this is what we're doing. We're using photography and visual language to document the story of the coal history of Enugu. And, we started with Mr. Hyacinth and his friend, Engineer Sani. And then, we went to talk to the Association of Coal Miners in one of their meetings to tell them about what we're doing. And then they were like, oh, we're interested, and we'll let you know when we have time so that you can come. And, they don't live in one place. So we have to call and find out, oh, do you have time this weekend? Where would you be? And that's how we started. So we went to one person and then went to two other people, and we said just go in and, we pick a day, and then we are maybe going to meet 5 people that day, and then we have to go to different places. We have to go to Ngo, we have to go to Akebe, Ngo. There's so many places that I went to, and I honestly have seen and learned so much from them, because we get to ask them about their experiences. Because as much as, there's a story behind their disengagement, they were also good times. They had good times and they lived good times as well. And this is also part of what we want to find out, how they lived at the time, how the coal industry was. Yeah, so that's basically it.
It's a different thing for you because more of the documentation you're doing is photo story, right? So other than just writing these stories and what happened, how it happened, how they're living right now, how they lived then, right? So I want to garner your motivating factor that, that fueled you to, I think this is a very right story to document through picture, right? Because I'm even also going to, these are movies our Nollywood are meant to be, getting themselves involved in. So telling that story, so these stories won't miss. So that's my problem. Documentation, right? Mr. DK writing about this is very important. Like, I love the fact that, there's a book now that trails every event and everything that happened for these coal miners, right? So it's also that to be futuristic, we need some like a movie too. Right now is a photo story you're telling. So what is the motivating factor, going to and, being inspired to do this?
The same way, you talk about documentation. To keep things, like someone has to do it. We have to keep things. We have to be able to tell of the times. That is the duty of the artist. In whatever medium that you can express yourself, you have to observe the times and you have to tell of it, and you have to tell, how you feel about it or what you see, however way you show it. So I want to be able, this is for the future, and it is a way to also tell people that, anything is possible. You don't have to be a professional anything to be able to keep these moments, to be able to tell stories in what little way that you have. You can. Because when you hear stories about, people that go to Europe and how they, there are museums like in every turn, every corner, in every street. It's not like they don't know what they're doing. It's because they value what they have. It's because they value their identity. And if you do not know where you're coming from, you most certainly cannot go forward, because you really will not have a direction to go to. So it is important that we keep these things for the future. images have a way of, telling stories of 1,000. You just need to see one image and it can tell you so much. So imagine if you keep things like this. These men had a life. They have a history. They lived, they worked at a certain time. And, someone has to keep that so that we can remember. How do you feel
about the way Enugu is keeping and telling the story of these miners who lost their lives? I mean, you've been documenting it. You've dedicated time to do that. How do you feel about how the state is the state dedicating enough time to actually do that?
I honestly do not think so. I think the state can do better because we have men, people who have, they are like legacies that are left of what is left of the history that we have of Enugu. And, the way they are being treated, it's like they're not even there. It's like they are invisible. It's like people don't even know how hard they've worked. Because when you have conversations with these men, you hear their stories, you hear the different things they did.
The retired miners.
Yes, they talk about the different departments. Some of them worked more than one department. They have to, some of them picked the code, some of them had to do electricals as well. And, some of them had experiences inside the mines, maybe not having enough oxygen or maybe the tunnels coming down on them. So there are so many things out of this. And at the end of the day, they just seem like they're just ordinary men.
Yeah.
But they aren't, and, how do we honor them? How do we honor the miners that died 75 years ago, fighting for what they believe, fighting for their rights? How do we keep these legacies and memories alive? The only way is to keep something of it, to make sure that something stays back. That tomorrow, when our children or our children's children come up on these images or see something that's written, they can remember and keep it going forward. That's the only way to.
I think so too. I mean, we'll continue to tell this story, and I'm happy you mentioned Engineer Hyacinth because very shortly he will be joining us, and people will know who this. The irony of this is that Engineer Hyacinth doesn't know he's a celebrity.
Yeah.
He just strolls in and out
just passion.
with
so
fans.
Just passion
It's
for
always
it.
ready,
Always
light and
ready.
nimble.
And I'll tell you a funny story of Engineer Hyacinth. So the last time he came here for his interview, I forgot to remove the microphone from his shirt. So he took off. And Obinwa, a staff that works here, I asked him to please rush after the Engineer Hyacinth and pick up the microphone. So I thought he was just going to be around the corner, still at the estate. I found out he had already reached New Market.
Okay.
This was under 5 minutes. I'm just like, with so much energy, so agile,
I'm telling you.
at that age.
He walked with us from the coal preparatory plant to the railway corporation on Saturday. All the way. He was on time. He was ready and waiting.
Always ready with his folders.
Was teaching exactly with his folders. Always with his files.